All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this impromptu live stream from Go Cloud Careers about cloud computing careers and competency versus experience. So, my name is Chris Johnson. I am joined by Alonzo Coleman. He is our Chief Marketing Officer at Go Cloud Careers. And I'm also joined by Mike Gibbs, our founder and CEO at Go Cloud Careers. I am coming to you guys remotely, as always, though. But today or this week, I am out here with visiting with some colleagues and professors at the University of Tennessee Martin, working on some new content for our programs and for our students, producing some new and great, amazing stuff for you guys. So in case you're wondering, that's where I'm at with my different background than normal. Usually you see me in my office, but not this week. So we are here. We've got some fun stuff to talk about today. So Mike, I will let you kick it off. You wanted to do the impromptu stream, so we are here.
Yeah, and Chris and Alonzo, thank you. The reason I wanted to do the stream is, people confuse competency and experience. And whether it's competency as a physician or competency as a cloud architect, there's a massive difference between competency and experience. And, we work with people of all backgrounds. People with zero tech background that we get hired almost every day as cloud architects, and people with 20 years of tech background. And guess what? Often they need just as much training as someone that's never began before. And I'll give you some proof. I'll give you some names. You can see many of these videos on our YouTube channel. You can see Yvonne Tamba, the college student that was working as a waiter that's now at AWS. You can see Daniel Bosu, he's on our YouTube channel, who didn't even graduate high school and is now working for JP Morgan Chase. You can see Jennifer, the mental health tech. Well, actually, we don't have a video of her working at JP Morgan Chase. You can see Bal Winder, the stay-at-home mom, working at Microsoft. You can see Jermaine, an amazing guy who used to be selling landscaping gear, who's now working as an SNMHU. I think that's where he is, as an enterprise architect, or Wallace Agana, who's working as an enterprise architect, or Jeffrey West, who's working as a cloud architect. And I could go on and go on and go on. And they got hired with no experience. Why? Because they were competent. Likewise, people come to me with 30 years tech experience. And they say, why can't I get one of these jobs? And I ask them 2 or 3 questions, and they tell me they've been working for 30 years and they've got certifications. That doesn't convince me someone that can do the job at all. In fact, it's telling me they don't know how to do the job. So let's talk about competency. Competency is the ability to do the job. If you are competent in your career, whatever career you've chosen, you can get any job you want. Now let's talk about what competency actually means. The ability to be good at your job. Now, I've interviewed over 6,000 people. 6,000 of them. And guess what? I've hired less than 50 of them. Why? Because only 50 of them or less were actually competent. And of those 50, a good percentage of them had no background, no experience, and they didn't even have competency, but I liked their personality so much because just the fact that they could learn, they were honest, ethical, and enthusiastic and passionate about the work, I knew they were better than someone with 20 years of experience that couldn't do the job. So competency, let's talk about competency and the ability to do it well. Who would you prefer to go to as a doctor? Someone that's got 1 year of experience that's known as the world's greatest, or somebody that's been around for 50 years that has a track record of putting bodies in the ground because they're such a bad doctor? Personally, I'm going to the young kid, that Doogie Howser. When I was young, there was a TV show, this Doogie Howser. He was a 16-year-old physician or something like that, but he was a genius. I'm going to Doogie Howser, that other person that's been killing people. I like to call them assassins. That's what we medical people call bad doctors. We call them assassins. And guess what? It's competency. Now, about 2 weeks ago, I had a student. We'll call him Roy. It's his middle name. He's going to be working for Deloitte as a senior solution architect in a couple of days when they start his batch. And his background was sales. And now he got a senior solution architect job. Why? Because he was so competent. So experience is meaningless. Competency is everything that matters. But competency can be coming from different things. And when it comes to experience, it's relevant experience that matters. So let's talk about careers and experience and things that work. If somebody has 20 years programming experience and all they do is write code all day, and an architect designs, presents, and sells a technology solution, that 20 years experience doesn't count because it counts as somebody else's career. But you can use that to show that you've got a background in the underlying technology, which again is great. Likewise, someone that's been selling for 20 years that now wants to be an architect, and at least half of the architect's job is sales, that 20 years experience is highly relevant. Let's take a doctor. Why? It's a field I know real well. I'm a nurse practitioner. What does a doctor and nurse practitioner do? They ask patients questions. What brought you in today? To get to the problem, right? Then they ask a series of questions. What makes this thing better? What makes this thing worse? In your family, do you have a history of cancer or heart disease? This. And they use all that information to make a diagnosis. And that diagnosis, guess what? Formulates their treatment plan. What's an architect do? Cloud architect, network architect, enterprise architect, business architect? Same thing. Guess what? Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, what's going on? What challenges do you have? Can I evaluate your systems, your people, processes, and technology? Now I know what's wrong. I got a diagnosis. Here's the solution for you. Same job. Now, really, when it comes to competency, executives like me need to hire people from different fields. And here's why. When it comes to true innovation, you need diversity in your people and their experience. So if you don't have experience, it might be a good thing. Look at my team. Look at my two executives with me right now. Alonzo's got 30 plus years of marketing experience. He's also a cloud architect and has worked on the cloud and managed global programs, but his marketing experience helps him teach my students how to get hired. They have such exceptional brands, they don't even need to apply. Chris has got an HR background, and he managed large projects from giant hotels being open. He has the operations side that someone like me that's focused on technology my whole life wouldn't know. So it's competency that truly matters. Both of these folks are extremely competent, but I want you to understand this. Competency comes from mastering the job. Now, where do most people go wrong? They don't focus on their job. In fact, in the 6,000 interviews that I've done, most of those people had beautiful resumes, ones that look better than mine. 10, 20, 30 certifications, master's degrees in technology. But when you actually asked the question, you peel back the onion, there was nothing there. They were so spread so thin that ultimately what happened is they didn't know anything. You can't master everything. And if you try, I promise you, you will fail. Pro football players, and guess what? We're going to have one on tonight. My friend Reggie Bonifant, and wait till you hear from him. Guess what? He's an expert at football. I promise you, he's not an expert at baseball, Olympic gymnastics. He's an expert at football, and he's darn good. And wait till you hear what it takes for him to be an expert. Now, when it comes to your career, why do people look for experience in the first place? Well, they think that if you've been doing something for a while, you might be good. They think. But the reality is, not necessarily. There's good doctors and bad doctors. There's good architects and bad architects. How do you think I became a principal architect in less than 2 years? The people that were applying for this job had 15 and 20 years experience. But what did I do, which they didn't do? I only learned one thing. Only one thing. It was my career and not anybody else's. Everybody else had 1,000,001 certifications. I learned one thing, and one thing well. You know, people know that I'm not a lover of certifications, and I'm going to tell you why. They don't breed competency. In fact, in most cases, they teach you exactly what not to do. Let's talk about how AWS certifications typically make you incompetent versus competent, which makes it harder for you to get hired. So for example, 81% of most customers are multi-cloud. Now, 98% plan to be. Okay, so in a certification, they teach you the name of an AWS service and how to configure that service, but they don't teach you the underlying technology. For the cloud architect, how do you design something when you don't even know what it is? Because you've got that. Now in a certification, they teach you single points of failure, like one cloud. There's a reason 98% of customers aren't willing to do one cloud, because it won't work. Then they teach you half of it about proprietary services, and they make them sound exciting, right? Guess what? Can't use them. Why? They don't work multi-cloud. So throw out all those ECSs, DynamoDBs, Kinesises, Auroras, and pretty much 50% of the nonsense that's in a certification. Why? Because it doesn't work multi-cloud, and that's the reality. Then they tell you about their fancy security services. And guess what? Who do you want from when it comes to security? Do you want someone like Palo Alto that all they do is security? Or someone like AWS who's a Swiss Army knife? We're a little in security, a little in machine learning, a little in kinesis, a little this. It's kind of like going to the Cheesecake Factory for a steak, and I like the Cheesecake Factory, versus going to Morton's. Morton's specializes in steaks, and I promise you that steak in Morton's is going to be 10 times better than that steak you get at the Cheesesteak Factory, because that's all they do. While we're at it, they like to talk about CloudFront, right? I love CloudFront. It's an exceptionally good content delivery network, but guess what? Can't use it in a multi-cloud environment. It can't even use it in a single cloud environment. Amazon doesn't. Why do you think they don't use just CloudFront? They use multiple content delivery networks. So what they're teaching is architecting single points of failure. And then students come to me and they're like, how do you convince people to get off of the CapEx of the data center and go to the OpEx on the cloud? And I say, why would you like to do that? And they say, CapEx is good, right? CapEx is bad and OpEx is good. And I say, do you have an MBA? Do you have any business acumen? CapEx is buying your house. OpEx is renting your house. Which is better for you long term, buy your house or rent your house? Well, it depends. If you're going to be in that house for 6 months, rent it. If you're going to be in there for the next 30 years, buy it and you'll have something at the end. And you get a tax deduction because you can write off the mortgage and you'll have net worth when you're done. Same thing for businesses. Because I tell you the cloud is cheaper. The cloud's not cheaper. Now the cloud is more agile. Yeah, good stuff. People went to infrastructure as a service and it wasn't cheaper. So now everybody's doing serverless. That's cheaper. That's even more expensive than infrastructure as a service if you use it a lot. So the key is I want you to all master your jobs. We'll get to some questions very shortly, but master your careers. Don't let anybody tell you that experience matters. It doesn't. My first job was a senior role, and that was going for medicine. So we'll kind of keep that in the back of your mind. I know Chris and Alonzo have some things to say. That's what I meant by questions. But keep that in the back of your mind. Every one of you can do anything you desire. And when you want to change careers, here's my guidance. Pick the 5 most critical things in your career and learn them. Master them. Be the best in them. It's like Bruce Lee when he said, I fear the man that's practiced one kick 10,000 times, but I don't fear the man that practices 10,000 kicks one time. Why? Because when you practice one kick 10,000 times and you kick somebody, it's going to hurt. And if you've learned 10,000 kicks and you've only done it once, they're all going to be sloppy and horrible, and none of them are going to be meaningful. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Be great. Be great. An NFL running back trains differently than an offensive lineman. Why? Because they have a different job. Be great. An internal medicine physician is different than a cardiothoracic surgeon, and they train differently for a reason. Be great. So when it comes down to it, I want you to be competent. Focus on the 5 main skills. Then focus on the things that you use to sell yourself. Your communication skills. Why? Doesn't matter how great you are if you can't communicate it to a hiring manager, they can't hire you. How are they going to know what's in your head? Especially for roles like architects. There's no tech test, there's no coding test. It's a presentation. How are you going to present it if you haven't focused on it? Focus on your presentation skills. Build your interview. Build your leadership skills and build your teamwork skills. Do those kind of things and you'll be awesome in every way. So there you go. I'll turn it over to Chris and Alonzo. They're also experts at being incredible. And I want you all to be incredible. So don't let lack of experience scare you. It's competency that matters. Hiring managers care about competency, and that's all customers need in the end. Can you do it, and can you be great at it? Chris, Alonzo, you want to add anything?
Yeah, so just to piggyback on what Mike says, if you follow us, I don't come from the technology industry as my background. I come from operations and hotels. But just a perfect example that's completely relatable to this about competency and experience. I'll use my wife as an example. She's also in hotels, but she became a general manager of a Hilton property at 23 with less than 9 months of experience in hotels. General manager of a property at 23. Why did she become the general manager? Because she was able to prove her competency and ability to do the job. She didn't have the experience. There's no way that she could have had the experience necessary to fill that position, but she was able to prove her competency. So that's just one simple, immediately, readily available example of competency versus experience. So just want to reinforce that. that with what we're talking about here, that the competency truly is what matters over experience. You can have someone that is been in a position forever and just happened somehow stayed in the position, like somehow they were not fired. Don't know how they weren't fired or how they weren't removed from their role, but they are the worst person for that role. But if you based it off just experience, you wouldn't know that. So anyway, wanted to throw that in there for tidbit. I know we're not sticking around forever today. This isn't a normal Q&A session, so we're not going to be sticking around to answer questions and answers. But we do have our webinar that we're going to be doing on Thursday. It's completely free. You can register at the link in the chat box. The link is also in the description. Make sure you register for that. Or if you're not able to attend that on Thursday, you can join our Q&A on Monday about cloud careers, and we'll take those. So Alonzo, I'll let you throw in any last words, and then we'll let Mike give us a brief review of what tonight's show is going to be.
Outstanding, Chris. Yeah, I don't want to continually drill in the fact that competency far out reaches experience. Imagine going 15 years in the wrong direction. So you arrive there, you've got the experience, you've dodged the potholes, you've crossed the bridges and the rushing rivers, all to still be in the wrong place. It's the same thing with experience. If you have experience doing the wrong things, then what does that amount to? Versus competency. I may not have the experience, but I'm where I need to be in a shorter amount of time. So the focus needs to be on what the skill set requires you to do. Now, I know we have a lot of people out in the industry that focus on certifications and that experience. You need to go to sysadmin, to engineer, and somewhere along the line, you may look up after 5, 6, 10 years as a cloud architect. Understand that is not the accurate solution. So we want to emphasize that competency far exceeds experience to do other people's jobs when you need to be focused on doing the job that you want to do. And I just wanted to share that. Mike, please take it home.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the key. Be great at your job. Learn the 5 most critical things. I promise you they're not in certifications. And I can tell you, before we started this company, we interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people, asked them some basic junior level architecture questions, and none of them knew it. None. And that's why we retrain people that have spent years of time racking up certifications with the certification providers. But let's talk about tonight. Because tonight I'm really excited. I had a few minutes. We wanted to talk to you, really help you understand that you can do anything you desire. Tonight we're going to talk about what it takes to actually be elite. We're going to bring in a pro football player. There's not much more elite than that. And this is going to be a person that at 7 years old decided they wanted to be a pro football player and dedicated their whole life to it. I'm telling you, Reggie Bonifant is an impressive guy. I'm happy to call him a friend. He's got a story to tell, and it's going to be full with life lessons that are going to help you in your career. And guess what? After that, Chris and Alonzo are going to interview me on how I achieved big roles that would normally take 15 to 20 years experience. How my first job was a senior role with 0 experience, and how I've been able to help people do it for decades. But they're mostly going to focus on me. So tonight, the tides are turned. My team's going to be doing some awesome interviews. They're going to interview me. I'll be on the hot seat, and I like that as well. You're going to hear from a pro football player, and let me tell you what it takes to be elite. Like that, there are going to be some lessons to learn, and if you follow these lessons, it can change your life. It's going to be fun, fun, fun. And of course, you'll be able to ask us questions. And I can't wait to see you. So, become elite. Be the best at whatever you do. Focus, and focus some more. Like a laser. You take a general light bulb, it lights the room. You focus that light, turn it into a laser, and you can cut through steel. So do you want to be the super strong Superman that can cut through steel like a laser? Or do you need to be like the light bulb that sort of lights a percentage of the room? I want you to be like Superman, but that laser-like focus and that laser-like achievement level. So can't wait to see you tonight. It's going to be lots of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
See you later.
Have a great day. See you tonight. Bye.
Have a good one.